But last night, hundreds of pages of court documents related to Jeffrey Epstein were released, naming dozens of associates, not least Prince Andrew, whose name appeared at least 67 times across the more than 900 pages. To discuss the details of what arises from it, royal commentator Richard Fitzwilliams is here with me, and we're also joined by host of the To Die For daily podcast, Kinsey Schofield. Welcome to both of you. But first, I'd like to start with senior TV interviewer and documentary filmmaker who conducted the exclusive interview with Ghislaine Maxwell for TalkTV last year, Daphe Barak. Daphe, welcome to the Independent Republic of Mike Graham. Thank you so much for joining us. Quite a story.
Thank you, Mike.
You're right in the middle of it. I'm going to start you off with what we have here on a front page headline from the Metro newspaper. Andrew in orgy on Epstein Island is the headline. Quite a revelation, quite a headline, quite a leap. What are you making of it all?
I'm actually, Michael, much more in the front seat of it than I ever intended. I usually am a political interviewer. Virginia, Jeffrey, and I met in Washington, D.C. quietly. I actually like her, and she's a sex victim. There's not even a question. Maybe not all the allegations are accurate, but she is a sex victim, and sex victims tend to confuse dates and people and everything. And she is communicating with me almost daily. So it's a big thing for her because she dared and went and filed the lawsuits. And apparently this is where we are. On the other end, I am very close friends of some of your royals, including Sarah Ferguson, who is one of the closest friends for my husband and I, as the Duchess of York. And of course, she resides with Prince Andrew.
Yeah.
So I'm getting it. And then she's a victim too, because she has done nothing wrong. His daughters have done nothing wrong. He claims he did nothing wrong. I mean, it was a bad mistake of judgment, error of judgments, to say what he said on the BBC interview and not to show remorse. But he said he's never done what Virginia sued him for. And the fact that he settled, it was because the Queen, the late Queen, really, people put pressure on him. So much pressure because of the Jubilee. He didn't understand at the time that some people would perceive it as if he admits it, because he did not. So there are many victims on many other sides. Alan Dershowitz is a good friend of my husband and I. Virginia said she was confused about his name, but he has been suffering a long time. And Virginia himself has some health problems that I'm not allowed to share. It's not easy.
No, it's a right old mess. But before we go back to Prince Andrew, let me just talk about Alan Dershowitz, because former President Bill Clinton has been mentioned 50 times in the files. He says he's never been to Epstein's Island. And very much earlier tonight on Piers Morgan Uncensored, Alan Dershowitz appeared and he was asked if what Bill Clinton just said there is true.
I was having dinner, this is a name-dropping story, with Caroline Kennedy, the former president's daughter, and her husband, and Bill Clinton, and another couple. And the phone rang. This was on Martha's Vineyard. And he was president. The Secret Service gave him the phone. He went away, walked for about 15 minutes, had a vibrant conversation. I didn't hear it. And then he came back with the phone and saying, Alan, somebody wants to say hello to you. And he handed me the phone. It was Jeffrey Epstein. So this was way before any accusations or anything was suggested about Epstein. But obviously, Clinton and Epstein had a friendship. And in most cases, in my example, my friendship totally terminated the day the accusations came out. I did serve as his lawyer, but never again socialized with him once I had heard these accusations. I think that's probably true of some people. In other cases, people continued to have a friendship with him even after he served his sentence in prison.
We're talking to Daphe Barak. Daphe, I mean, what do you make of what Alan said there about Bill Clinton? I mean, is it going to be the case that a lot of these names that are linked with Epstein are going to be linked in a way which is not sexual, which is not necessarily wrong? How are we going to be able to tell?
Well, Mike, it's definitely damaging. I mean, many of these names, most of them are not really accused of any wrongdoing, but just guilty by association is not something that you and I would like to open the newspaper and found your name or my name there. I hosted Hillary Clinton at my home in New York for 2008 presidential race. I know Bill Clinton. Knowing Hillary, I'm sure she's devastated of this mentioning. It's very inconvenient. Now, I understand from Ghislaine Maxwell when I interviewed her, she continued her friendship with Bill Clinton after Jeffrey Epstein was convicted. They had their own set of relationship, but she admires him. She thinks he's brilliant, and she said that Bill Clinton was not on the island. So, but she also told me that she doesn't recall that Virginia Giuffre and Prince Andrew ever met in London, and we have these photos that some say it's original, some may question, but the photo is a photo. So there are many he says, she says.
Yeah, there are. May I ask when you last spoke to Sarah Ferguson, Duchess of York?
We're talking every night. We're texting each other.
And so what is she saying about all this? Because this happened last night. What's she saying?
I'm not privileged to say. I'm a very, very close friend. And she, just to put, simply put, she saved my life when she asked me to go and check my cancer. So I'm not going to do that for her. She's a very, very close friend of ours.
All right. And other people that you still talk to, are they concerned about where this is going to take the next turn, this story?
Yeah, I mean, a member of the royal family talking to me, and definitely they're not welcoming all that. I mean, I think King Charles, which I've known since for years, right, believes in unity and believes in extending, you know, an olive branch to as many as he can with his family. He and Camilla received Sarah with open arms, not only this year, as you saw, but also last year. She just opted not to do the walk. And I'm sure that's really a problem. I said to Sarah many times, that's one thing. I'm not going to tell you what she told me, but I'm telling you what I'm telling her, that unless he reverses the BBC interview and make amends and show some remorse and say, well, I now know better, the shoe would continue to drop. Yeah. I mean, it's just reality. You know it, Michael, as I do.
It will. Daphe, thanks very much indeed.